Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Unsecurity Podcast. Today's episode number 194. I'm your host, Oscar, and joined, as always, by the wonderful Brad Nye. Hey, Brad, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Trying to, wind things down and button up everything and getting ready for a little holiday break.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice. Looking forward to. It's such a difference from 6 years ago, 5 years ago here, where we were just so busy, be able to have better planned out and have the everything smoothed out with processes that hey, yeah, you can actually take a little time to recharge at the end of the year and not do emergency risk assessments the week of Christmas because somebody forgot.
Yeah, it's amazing how far we've came. So, we're busy, right? Everybody's busy in Q4, but it's felt like a lot more stable and expected and just a good pace instead of, like you said, like just kind of feeling a little hectic because we're trying to squeeze all these things in at last minute to help all these people. I feel like we were a little more planned out this year, and that feels really good.
Yeah. Spread it out throughout the year as opposed to backloading it in Q4. So I like that approach.
I think maybe people are listening. Like, don't wait till Q4 to do your stuff you have to do for that year. So, this is going to be our biggest quarter still, but at least people knew they had to get that work scheduled beforehand and make sure they were on the schedule so we could help them out before the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, it also helps that we're, booked through the end of the year by like mid-September for the most part.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, it's winding down. I can't believe we're already at end of year this year. And I think it's like a thing, right? As we get older, our perception of time changes anyway. There's some science to that. And I'd add like being busy, like the whole year. We were busy this year. There was never a lull, never a dull moment. And it's like, oh my God, today's December the 16th when we're recording. We're literally 2 weeks away from a new year, and that is mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, I was scheduling out some stuff for client work and scheduling things to go out in 2023 to help the year.
Yeah. So how long, just a fun question, one thing I always do whenever we roll over into a new year, I still date things the previous year for I feel like 2 to 3 weeks. How long does that last for you? Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably not right. Like, it's one of those things where you do it and then you're like, towards the end of it, the first people call you out and be like, wrong year. Hey, and after you're a little bit more aware.
Yeah. I'm just going to be like, nah, man, I'm just doing 22 again. 22 is a good year. I'm just doing it again.
After the last 20 and 21, I'm okay with 22.
Yeah, it was a big upswing. A lot of things to be thankful for this year. Like, and I reflect being able to travel again and feel comfortable traveling. Being able to have like our company party was so awesome this year to get everyone together and be able to see everyone. We missed you, Brad. You were sick that day, which was a bummer.
I know.
But it was.
It's funny, I was like, there's no way. I don't want to go and get everyone sick. My wife was like, well, can I still go? I want to see everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. We got to hang out with Katie. We didn't hang out with Brad, but Katie was there. We had a really good time.
I think we got the better half.
Yeah. We got the better version of Brad anyway. It's all good. Yeah, also thankful about DEF CON this year. It was super cool to get to have the whole team go to DEF CON, but even more so the conference felt normal again. Because last year in 21, even though it was in person, it was still a hybrid event. And while it was still technically a hybrid event this year, the turnout felt like old DEF CON, or all the people were there again. A lot of opportunities to network, socialize, and it just felt more like things. I feel like 22 started to feel like things are back to what our new normal is. I can't say back to normal because there is a new normal. I think some things changed during COVID that will never go back.
Right. But yeah, it's not total lockdown anymore. We kind of, have vaccines and people are getting some immunity. And so you can actually like you said, travel and see people again.
Yeah. So I guess another thing I'm thankful for, like you mentioned, the immunity, is I think I have super immunity now because I had COVID like 3 times this year. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's like I was laughing because I ended up getting COVID 3 times, and then I got the flu this year. And then I actually got hand, foot, mouth disease, which I didn't even know adults could get hand, foot, mouth disease. And so I'm like, well, I've checked my viral infection bingo card off. I think I've got them all now. And so hopefully I just have good immunity now to do me for a while.
And that's what's crazy is the upswing in all these things because nobody socialized for 2 years. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, we're still here. Yeah,
for
I had that flu too. That was fun.
Yeah, you're just getting over it, right? So you had it last weekend and this week, and just now getting back to speed.
Yeah, it was interesting. It just knocked me out. I had no energy. I told you I slept, like my Fitbit recorded 35 hours of sleep in a 60-hour window.
That's amazing, but it's the best thing for you.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I'm just going to follow what my body says to do. Thankfully, my family was good. The kids and my wife, they were all like, nope, stay in bed, stay away from us. Do not get us sick. Like, can do.
I wish I could have slept like that when I had the flu, but I had a really bad fever, and which caused me to continuously sweat. I would wake up, go to bed, and wake up and have to towel off, and then my sheets are wet. I'm like, let me find another place to sleep in the house now. And so I never was able to really get that long sleep. Yeah. Yeah, the fever is definitely the worst part. So, but yeah, other positives, man. So you got your big vacation coming up. Super excited about that.
Yeah. Especially when the temps here are going to be highs in the negative numbers when we leave. So that'll be nice to get away from.
Nice. Going to get some good sunshine and warm temperatures and say see you later to Minnesota.
Yeah, last for a bit.
Oh, excuse me. Had a little sneeze there.
Yeah, you've got your coming up. Hopefully weather cooperates for you.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. It's looking like it's going to be cold here on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, which is nice. I hope we get a little bit of snow. It'd be perfect to have a white Christmas, but then we're heading south to not nearly as far south, I think, as you're going, but looks like temperatures are going to be pretty nice. I hope the rain stays away and get to enjoy some time in the mountains.
Nice. Yeah, we definitely have a white Christmas. We got about, 4 or 5 inches of snow yesterday.
Yeah. You guys are you getting more now too?
Yeah, it's just some light flurries today, but more next week. Just, it doesn't stop.
That's Minnesota, man. You guys are really good at winter though up there. There's so much fun activities to do, and your infrastructure is built to handle it so well. And so, that's the thing here in Kentucky. It's like it never gets cold enough or enough snow that you can really enjoy winter activities consistently. And then our infrastructure is just not as ready for big snowstorms. So when they hit, things are kind of pandemonium for a few days here.
Yeah, total shutdown.
Yeah. Yeah, so I grew up, in eastern Kentucky in the mountains, and it was really funny. You talk about a total shutdown. When snow hits there, like in eastern Kentucky, it is an absolute shutdown. I was just talking with Erica and kind of reminiscing about we had this blizzard in 1994 where we got it was between 2 and 3 feet of snow, and I literally didn't go to school for a month. They had schools closed for an entire month. And as a kid, that was awesome. It was so much fun. We were playing in the snow and, having tons of fun out there. But then what was really bad about that as a kid was my summertime, because we now had to go to school in the summer until the middle of June.
Wow. Yeah. So actually, I'm looking at it from Tuesday morning through today. We've gotten just about 10 inches of snow, and there hasn't been no delay or early release.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You guys are tough. Kids are tough up there.
I mean, they go outside until it's -10. Yeah. It's different. It's different up here.
Yeah, it is. You guys are built for it. I think I've told the story on here before. My first time coming up to visit the FRSecure office was during a blizzard. And, it's when we had a we're in Minnetonka, so it was like a 20-mile or 25-minute drive from the airport, and they give me a little Toyota Corolla, and there's snow, like piles of snow, and it's just downpouring, and I'm like, really? Like, can I drive in this? You're going to give me a rental car? And the guy at the rental car place is like, oh, you'll be fine. Just follow the taillights in front of you and stay back. Give yourself plenty of distance. I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, lanes don't exist during the snowstorm. You just follow the car in front of you. It's like it's a 4-lane highway, and there's like 2 sets of tire tracks.
It was amazing, though. I remember seeing like the snow plows out that day, and how they'll have, if it's a 4-lane highway, they got a plow in each lane that's staggered, just wiping the snow off that road instantly. And I'm like, oh my God, these guys, they got it together up here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The main roads, I mean, even in our neighborhood, it's cleared already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. It is crazy how fast they do it.
Yeah. See, the downside of that is they're so good at clearing the snow that you don't get to go find like an empty parking lot and just like rip donuts, There
are some places to get to do that, but
That's one of my favorite things about snow down here. It's like, all right, let's get the truck out. Let's go find a big covered parking lot and have some fun.
Yeah, no, we don't really do that with the snow tires and Subaru. It's really difficult to make it do that anyway.
Yeah, it's difficult. So I had an all-wheel drive Volkswagen for a while, and I let my buddy borrow it during a snowstorm one time. And something was wrong with his truck. He needed a car. I'm like, here, you can take this. It'll be fine. And so he did the same thing. Our national pastime. He went and hit a parking lot and was trying to do donuts in my Volkswagen R32. And when he did, he didn't realize like how the traction control works in an all-wheel drive car, and he slammed into a curb, busted a tie rod, and busted my wheel. And so I'm like, all right, you're paying for that, A, and B, that's the last time you ever get to borrow my car again.
Yeah, really. That's funny.
Well, cool, man. I hope you and your family have an amazing Christmas, and you guys get to enjoy your time off and enjoy the warmth, too.
Yeah, you too.
Heck yeah, man. So you want to talk about some happening in the security world today? What you got for us, Brad?
Yeah. So I think the first one is really important is Veeam backup and replication vulnerabilities are now being actively exploited in the wild. But the 2 CVEs are both rated at 9.8. Unauthenticated users to access internal API functions. Veeam noted this back in March of this year. So this is not a new vulnerability, but it's still out there. So it's impacting versions 9.5, 10, and 11. So they say to upgrade to 10A and 11A, and 9.5 should be updated to a supported version. So if you're running 9.5, it's unsupported, but it is being actively exploited. So be careful, get your stuff patched.
Yeah, for sure. Get those patched. And it's like we've talked about a lot, right? So in most of our ransom cases, we're seeing if you have network attached backups, like in this scenario with Veeam, it's going to be a point of target anyway. And so if they have that vulnerability and an open path to exploit to your Veeam environment, it's going to be much easier for those attackers to destruct those backups, which is likely going to be their ultimate goal. I know in the article they talk about a couple different ultimate goals, but I can say, like, realistically, they're going to try to destruct your backups before they launch another attack. And so, yeah, get that patch. There are other avenues, like we've talked about a million times on here, right? So be aware of that. Even when you're patched, those Veeam backups are can still be compromised if an attacker lives on your network long enough.
Yep. So.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So with both those, the vulnerability was released, you said, back in March. Those patches should have been available, I would assume, for a long time by now. So
I would think so.
Yeah, so hopefully all of our listeners who are using Veeam have been able to fully patch those systems. Yeah, kind of another big one that popped this last week, which we did get up on our threat feed on Project Hyphy. If folks are listening and are not in tune to that, check it out. It's projecthyphy.com. And Hyphy is spelled Hyphae. I know that's super easy for everybody to remember now. Yeah, it's like Brad's hat. But so there were some critical vulnerabilities in the Citrix ADC again and the Citrix Gateway. I feel like we talk about these Citrix gateways, Horizon gateways, all these gateway services pretty regularly, consistently having new vulnerabilities.
You said this originally. It's like, wait, didn't we already? Oh, this is a new one.
It's a new one. Yeah, it's a new one. And when I seen it this week, it was like, wait, what? Is this the old one? Like, no, it's another one. And it's an unauthenticated remote code execution. So no authentication required to exploit. You just have to have a publicly available Citrix gateway that is vulnerable. And so there's a lot of versions of the ADC and the Citrix gateway that were affected. So pretty much anything 13 dot, most of the 13 dots, most of the 12 dots are affected. So check that out. I know that Citrix has released a lot of information on this. The big thing is there is exploit available, and they are being exploited in the wild today. So you want to make sure to respond to this as soon as possible. There are mitigating controls, and they do have patches out at this point as well. So make sure you get those patches applied as soon as possible. More so, I mean, we just keep talking about these gateway services, and it's a challenge, man.
Well, I think the big thing is, they're becoming so prevalent because everybody's remote now, right? These weren't as popular prior to the pandemic. I mean, yes, they were out there, but they're far more common now than they had been. So now there's more incentive to go after them.
Yeah, for sure. I think the frequency of usage of these, remote working employees solutions, we could just say loop them all into one, right? There's just more endpoints on the internet now for attackers to target and try to exploit. And so I think that's why we're seeing more and more discovery of these vulnerabilities in these systems. And, it's tough, because people have to find solutions to work. We talk about this a lot. And, you can have that Citrix gateway. You can properly configure that gateway. So you got multi-factor, all those good things in order. But if it's required, you're still, you're going to be at risk for these vulnerabilities to pop up. You can't change that, unfortunately.
No. Yeah, just be aware and pay attention to these advisories as they come out, specifically knowing your environment and what to look for.
Right. Yeah, I think the big thing to do, for folks is just make sure you understand, and we talk about this, have an inventory of all those critical applications that you're using in your business, and make sure you have good processes in place so you can be quickly made aware of vulnerabilities like this as they present themselves, and then you have an even better process for being able to remediate those in a timely manner. And, I think we talk about this too, having like a critical exception to your process. So if your typical patch cycle is 30 days, for typical medium or low severity vulnerabilities, make sure you have that exception process for these critical vulnerabilities so you can get these remediated as soon as possible. Because I can say from all of our intelligence and casework that whenever you have a critical vulnerability like this with, say, an application or a piece of technology that's very widespread and very readily available and easy to identify on the internet, we always see attackers go into what we call spray and pray or mass exploitation. Mm-hmm. So you get the POC and literally in a matter of a couple of days, typically they're going to hit every device that's accessible on the internet for at least a stage one payload.
Yep. Yeah. And again, we got the holidays coming up, and I've had multiple of my customers say, hey, what advice, what should we do over the, Christmas to New Year's when people aren't in the office? And, this is when they're going to hit those things. So turn off any critical or any systems that aren't mission critical. I mean, honestly, that's the safest way to prevent ransom attack or a malware attack is just turn it off. Now, granted, that's and not always possible, but.
Yeah, and I think in general, that's sound advice for people. If you can determine that you have especially publicly accessible systems that aren't mission critical or core critical to your business, and you could shut those down, say, for a short period of time, why do you need them out there anyway, right? And so, even long terms and things we talk about, like understanding what your attack surface is that's publicly available and really assessing that to determine, does this absolutely need to be available publicly? And we find a lot of times that people think something needs to be available publicly. When in reality, it's only publicly accessible because it provides an ease of use, right?
Right.
And so
Oh, yeah.
there are opportunities to add a layer of security, take that off public domain. But honestly, some people just don't like to go that path because it adds complexity to the environment, right?
Yeah. Oh, and, that's one of those, that risk management, that's why it's so important is to understand, hey, here's ease of use, here's security, where is the balance? Is it totally out of whack, or are we in a good spot?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, being able to make those decisions and know, that's what we talk about all the time, that's why it's so important to have those play.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. Couldn't agree more.
The other thing that I'm going to talk about is the FBI sees 48 domains linked to world's leading DDoS-for-Hire services. And they arrested 6 suspects aged 19 to 37 for alleged ownership in the operation. And they were trying to play them off as stressor sites, so legitimate. You can test your website's capacity and all that. But the FBI special agent who did this is I believe this is a facade, and these services exist to conduct DDoS attacks on computers not controlled by the attacker and without authorization. So, it's a shame that these people probably ruin their lives, but
it's kind of funny, right, that they did stand up a shell business that says, hey, we just do stress tests, and it's kind of genius too. So it's they're not going to get flagged by their hosting companies, right? So hey, it's a legitimate business. We do stress testing for people. So kind of clever, I will say, for the criminals to evade some detection.
And the domain list is, there's some legitimate looking domain names on there. Although there are some that are funny. Butter.cc? Okay. That doesn't allow it, but they did, they've got IP stressor dot whatever, what was it? DEFCON Pro. They had some legitimate looking names where, you probably wouldn't realize that they were not legit.
That securityteam.io, which is funny.
Yeah. There are some that definitely cracked me up. Royal Stressor, Instant Stressor, Dragon Stressor. There are some that are not, that are a little bit more, shady looking, but there are, like I said, there's some legitimate looking names on there. So, they really had a thought into this.
Did you, I don't know if the article told this, but it tell where the attackers were actually physically located?
It didn't say, but the fact that they were arrested by the FBI, and I would think they were in the U.S. I don't know. It didn't actually say.
Yeah, I just know I've seen that the FBI did collaborate with Netherlands and the United Kingdom as well. But I'm just looking at some of the names. I don't want to assume, but some of these names.
Bellevue, Florida, Margate, Florida, Lauderhill, Florida, Honolulu, Hawaii, and Liverpool, New York.
Yeah, so they were all domestic attackers then. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's even crazier.
Yeah, and we have seen frequency of DDoS attacks kind of kick up as well. We've seen frequency of all types of incidents kick up in the last few months, but we have had a few of our clients that have gotten hit with similar DDoS attacks, and those are very challenging to be able to remediate. Typically in those situations too, we have to call on the ISP and get support from the service provider to get some essentially upstream support to assist in blocking these malicious IPs and domains upstream, because what we see in some cases is when we start trying to block these malicious IPs at the firewall level, the frequency of requests is still so demanding that they can tax your firewall that's handling all your NAT translations and your access lists and still not be able to recover from that DDoS attack.
I'm looking to see if I can see what they so they're charging them with violating the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which, yeah, that's not one you really want to mess with. They can really not.
Yeah, I would like to have seen some other statistics, like that would have been interesting for me here is, and I'm sure maybe this will come out in due time, but like how many attacks have they attributed to these threat actors?
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they're calling it the largest in the world is, there's probably, hopefully maybe that'll really slow some of this down a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I'm looking at this like, we're used to launch millions of actual or attempted DDoS attacks targeting victims worldwide. So, coordinated law enforcement comes just before Christmas, where it typically brings a significant increase. So, fingers crossed.
Hey, well, that's 2 wins for the good guys in the last 2 episodes. So the last episode we talked about the botnet accidentally shutting themselves down.
Yeah.
And now the FBI sees 48 domains. So heck yeah, let's go. That's 2 points for the good guys.
Knock on wood, it'll be a little smoother this season.
Yeah, I sure hope so. Sure hope so. All right, cool. Yeah, so 2 other like quick hits to talk about. I didn't mention this on the Hackle box, but I think it's good to bring up on here. So we were talking about, QuackBot essentially has been delivering payloads in SVG images. And so like we kind of see the way this plays out, right? So you'll receive an email with an attachment that's zipped. It takes a few steps to get here, right? So then you'll open that zip, and the zip is actually an image file. And then you'll mount that image file. Windows can do that automatically for you, so it's rather simple for the end user. Then when you mount the image file, you see it's actually an Excel document. And guess what? Inside your Excel document, it's going to contain macros. And guess what? Those macros are malicious, and they will install malicious applications onto your system. It's a same old play. They got some new techniques in there, but it's still the same old story that we've been talking about for years and years and years and years. Yeah.
I will say, it was pretty clever reading it, like how they got it done. I mean, I just keep thinking all the effort that these people put into these malicious attacks and how much work. Imagine how much, if they turn that effort into good, how much further we would be. Like, yeah, they put a lot of work into this stuff.
Yeah, but the reality is, unfortunately, it's more profitable to be bad than good. Yeah. And so I think we see a lot of these guys that choose to focus on that path. We had discussed this for Emotet specifically, but we often see QuackBot and Emotet together, right? And so this article we've seen on GB Hackers is actually referencing QBot specifically, QuackBot, but just know, like, this technique isn't going to be isolated to only QuackBot. We see it with Emotet. Other attackers are going to mimic this and use it to deliver their own custom payloads as well.
Yeah. It's more profitable till the FBI knocks on your door.
Yeah. And you spend the next 20 behind bars.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and avoid that.
Yeah. Those legal fees add up quick.
Right.
So yeah, everybody, like we've talked about, just be on the lookout. This will be our last episode of the season before we go into the New Year's. And frequency of phishing attacks is extremely high right now. Make sure you're super diligent. Make sure all of your end users are. Make sure your family is, your friends. Make sure your grandmother, your aunts, cousins, uncles, all those people in your life, help them out a little bit, because they are surely getting phished right now. And we should try to help everyone best we can just by spreading the knowledge and making sure they understand how to identify a phishing email and how not to click things and open things that you aren't expecting to be in your inbox.
Yep, 100%.
Yep. And then finally, I think a quick one is NIST is officially retired SHA-1, baby. Way to go.
7 years old.
I think 95, is that right? Yeah, I think SHA-1 was released in 95, and exploit has been available for a very long time. But NIST has officially started the retirement. I can't say they've officially retired it because I think they said it's like through 2030 to actually retire all applications that are using SHA-1 still. And if you look at that list of applications, it's pretty eye-opening.
Yeah. It'll stop using it by December 31st, 2030.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's like 2,300 libraries that still support it.
And some big
approved.
names too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big names on there. So
make sure you don't, even if it supports it, don't enable it, please.
Yeah. That's a little PSA for everybody. Just disable SHA-1 if you haven't already. If you're using applications that have SHA-1 as dependency require usage of SHA-1 to function, maybe get in tune with those vendors and those suppliers and see what their plans are to retire that very insecure encryption algorithm.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. I think that's it for today, man. Let's give some shout outs and get on our merry way. We got the company holiday party, virtual holiday party coming up. So I'm ready to get started on that.
I'm going to give a shout out to my brother and my daughter. Both have birthdays coming up here the next week or so. I'm not going to socially engineer them and tell their birthdays, but just happy birthday to both of them, my brother and my daughter.
Nice. Yeah, happy birthday. I'm going to give a shout out to one of my blue teamers, Mr. Marty McCoy. We call him McFly. He's been working with the blue team about a year and a half now. Done a fantastic job. And he has decided to move on, and he's going to continue his career with the consulting team. And so we're sad to see him go from the blue team. The blue team is very sad to see him go, but the consulting team is very excited to have him on board. Marty's awesome, and I know he's going to be a great VC, so I'm sure some of our listeners, you'll get to interact with Marty next year likely, and I think you'll love him. He's just a stand-up dude who works his butt off and is a generally pleasant and amazing human being.
Yeah, I'm really excited because he's going to take some of the workload off of me in terms of bringing additional technical background that a lot of the consultants are more governance and don't have that deep technical understanding. So I'm looking forward to having him, working with him on some of that stuff.
Heck yeah. Yeah, he's going to be a great addition to the team for sure. So, all right. Well, awesome. Thanks a lot, Brad. Thanks to all our listeners, too. It's been a great year. Hope everybody has fantastic holidays and good time with friends and family.
We'll talk to you next year.
Yeah, see you next year. Adios. All right, see you guys.